Hey guys, so I am going to try something that I've never done before. Um, Possibly a review series, kind of like top five lists or like just my own reviews of toilets and urinals that I've seen and put up with myself. And admittedly, this is kind of inspired from STF, but it's something I've kind of wanted to do myself for a while. So anyways, I'm going to kick this off with my list of top five agitating older slash vintage toilets to find anywhere. Um, so anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. So number five on this list is going to be the 1950s through the 1960s Crane Walton. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial, but just hear me out. Now, this and the Placidus of the same time are not exactly very common, so you won't exactly find very many of these out in the wild. But the reason this is on here is because, well, let's just put it this way. It gets to be really, really annoying after a while. Just finding these on a constant basis in restrooms with crane fixtures, where I would instead be expecting something like a Placidus. Now, granted, I think I've only seen I think it was one Placidus out in the wild in my adult years, but still, it gets really annoying when all you see in crane restroom after crane restroom after crane restroom is just Walton after Walton after Walton after Walton after Walton, which is pretty much the simple reason why these are at number five on this list. Number four, this one probably isn't nearly as surprising. The second generation standard Glenco. Now, I'm just going to put it out there from the get go. There's a very simple reason why these are number four, and it's because they are a very, very, very common university fixture, especially. Pretty much every university you go to, there's probably going to be just about a 1 in 5 chance that you're going to find at least one of these. Like, there's just no question about it. They were so common in the 60s, like, you have no idea. Now, there is one exception I can make, and that is the 1930s Glencos that I found a while back. And those were a staple in the toilet community for years anyway, so I really wanted to see those ones, and I was glad they were still there, even after all these years. But as for the rest of them, it pretty much just gets to a point after a while of constantly seeing them that they just start to just get dull after a while. Like it's just the same straight down style flush, the same toilet, the same everything. It doesn't matter what version it is or like what logo it has either. If it's from the 40s or the 50s or the 60s, it's literally just the same thing. Yeah, that's why these are number four on this list. Number three on this list, and this is probably another not so surprising one, the second gen Afwall. Now, to start off as to why these are at number three, well, they got so popular that they killed off the Glenco in 1978. Yeah, that's literally how many of these you will find out in the wild. Not only are they like number four, the standard Glencos, and being a super, super common university fixture, literally every single office building, well, nearly every single one anyway, from the 70s is going to have these. Doesn't matter what part of the country you're in or what type of building it is, you're probably going to find these if it's from the 70s. Because, put it simply, something about AS and not having to run plumbing in the floor happened to appeal to a lot of builders. And as well as also the swirly flush that the Afwall had to offer at the time. So at the end of the day, what you have here is something that swarms so many 70s buildings, you may as well be thinking of them as bees out of a beehive, because that's literally how many of these you will find. So much so, in fact, that nowadays, whenever I tend to see one of these, I tend to look at it the same as I would look at a fly on a wall. And as far as I can tell, I am far from the only one that feels the same sentiment about these. Now, for number 2, I have the Mansfield Mohican / Imperial. Now, you might be asking, well, why is this at number 2? Well, let's put it this way. Mansfield is super common around me. Therefore, I wind up getting stuck finding these more often than not, where I would be expecting something much better, such as a standard cadet or like a Crate Drexel. Now, if you're like me and you're from or near Ohio, then you probably know what I'm talking about when I say Mansfield is super, super, super common over here. And, well, here's the answer to why that is. Mansfield happened to have a plant in the rather aptly named town of Mansfield. And it's pretty much because of that everywhere you go here, almost, you will find a Mansfield Imperial or a Mohican. That's how common they were as a fixture from the 60s and 70s all the way into the 90s. And honestly, to put it simply, this is one of those toilets that even years ago I was getting pretty annoyed with finding them constantly, because I was kind of hoping to find something else in its place. But instead, because Mansfield was based in Mansfield over here, I get stuck finding Mansfield. So don't let it come as a shock to you. If you ever stay for any duration of time over here, and you keep on finding nothing but these, and you eventually start to get to a point as well where you eventually start thinking that these are a pretty bland and uninteresting fixture to find as well. Hell, it even got to a point where I was super, super excited when I found my first Mansfield Simplex instead of another Mohican. That's how common Mohicans and Imperials are over here. And last but not least, number 1. Probably the least surprising of them all. The 3rd generation AS Afwall. Where do I even start on these things? So first off, all you have to do is take late 80s, early 90s construction, AS, and then on top of that, AS's appeal back then, and you get these. Which, oh my goodness. As if the 2nd gen Afwall wasn't bad enough, these are possibly even worse at infesting like 90s buildings, possibly more so than the 70s Afwalls are at 70s buildings. Like, pretty much put it simply, if the building has an early 90s or late 80s year date on it, there's just about a guarantee it's going to have these. So much so, in fact, that if you're the type of person who films anything and everything older and vintage, you may as well be getting ready to upload a million videos of just nothing but these. Like, literally, that's all you will be uploading. That, or you will be uploading a compilation that's literally just nothing but these, because that's all you will find, like, in that building or buildings, is literally just these. And because of that alone, I've just gotten to a point where I've just started skipping so many restrooms that have these because, to me, they're just bland. Pretty much on the same level as a lot of modern toilets. And that is saying a lot. Even years ago, if you were to ask me what toilet was the most annoying for me to find that's older/vintage, I would point you to this one right here. That's how annoyed I was, even back then, with finding these. Anymore, these are pretty much just the bane of my existence. So much so that it literally feels really exciting to find anything else besides one of these after I've just been in a building with these. It's just anymore for me. The flush is boring to look at. The crooked trapway is boring to look at. And not even helping either is because of the crooked trapway, it tends to have a little bit of performance issues, which is just absolutely lovely. But there you have it, guys. That was number 1 on this list. And might I add, a very unsurprising number 1, too. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next one.